r/NoSleep. Posted by u/horror, junkie123. I'm a barista at a coffee shop for the dead. I found out why Ivan's office smells like shit. Part 3. Hey everyone. It's been a while. Well, not really. Like at all. I needed a good segue, cut me some slack, will ya? Now where was I? Oh yeah. Ivan's office. Remember in part 1 when I got hired and I said the place reeked to high heaven? Well, I figured out why. And I was not prepared for the answer. It was a week after I'd been hired. Steven had me trained to the point where I could make a few basic orders and kinda sorta run the register. The clientele was hit or miss. Still is. Usually, they're either super friendly and outgoing, or they treat me like I murder babies in my free time. There's not many in the center of the spectrum, which was extremely jarring to deal with as a new employee with zero experience in the workforce, let alone with the dead. Steven was tending to the espresso maker when a woman in a white wedding dress walked in. I immediately recognized the black mascara trailing down her cheeks. I rolled my eyes. Remember the lady from my last post? Yeah, turns out that lovely individual, comes in semi-consistently. Great. I'd have to take sass from Corpse Bride on a regular basis. The woman marched up to the counter with a purpose. Pure disgust swept across her countenance the moment she laid eyes on me. "Hello ma'am, how can I help you?" I said in the cheeriest tone I could muster. Kill him with kindness or some bullshit like that, right? "Oh. It's you again. I'm shocked that you've lasted this long. I thought they would have tossed you to the curb by now. Oh well. I suppose I'll allow you to take my order." "What'll it be, ma'am? I'm happy to help." I was grinning so hard that I thought the corners of my mouth might tear. The woman narrowed her eyes on me and crinkled her nose. "You little heathen. How dare you mock me? I'll have you know that my—" "Look, Mrs. Abbott," Steven began, nudging me behind him. "I'll take your order. Nothing to worry about." She gave Steven the once-over, then pursed her lips. "I will allow it. But I will be speaking to your superior about this." Steven took her order and got her out the door as quickly as possible. Once he was finished, he turned to me with a scowl. "Calla." I averted my gaze, glancing sheepishly at my feet. "Yeah? I know that some of our customers can be a bit much. And sometimes they can be downright assholes, but that doesn't mean you can fuck with them like that and get away with it. Dealing with Mrs. Abbott is no walk in the park, but trust me, it's better to just get it over with and not let her get to you. You were smiling like the Cheshire Cat back there. I thought your eyes were about to pop out of your head." "I'm sorry. I got a little carried away, huh?" "I'd say so. But don't sweat it. You live and you learn." "Not in your case," I giggled, feeling the tension melt like butter. "I guess you're right," Steven chuckled, a smirk inching across his lips. "Now that we have that established, time to mop up the espresso you spilled earlier, hotshot." I puffed out my lower lip. "Fine. But only be cow." Slam. Ivan burst out of his office with a look of pure rage pasted to his face. The impact the door made against the wall nearly sent me sprawling to the floor. Ivan was really starting to do a number on the plaster. "Steven, watch shop. Must deal with problem," the giant seethed, his thunderous footsteps echoing loudly as he stomped out the front door. Steven shot me a timid look. I'd hate to be the unlucky bastard who pissed him off. "That makes two of us," I said. Once the shock wore off, I went to grab the mop bucket like Steven had asked. Then it hit me. A horrible, putrid stench punched my nostrils. It smelled like a horde of skunks had crawled into a dumpster full of poopy diapers on a warm summer day. My eyes began to water. But not before I noticed the source. Ivan had left his office door open. I realized that it was the same acrid odor from when I was hired. Only now, it was dialed up to 11. "Steven, do you smell that?" I gagged, holding my shirt over my nose. "Nope. Lost my sense of smell when I died. Weird shit like that happens sometimes when you pass." "Well, it reeks in Ivan's office. Is he hiding a sewage plant in there?" "Well, if it's really that bad, I'll go check it out," Steven said, casually making his way into the war zone. I stood way back as he pushed open the door and stepped inside. "Calla, are you sure? I don't see anything in here," Steven called out, brows knitted together. "Yeah, it smells like ass. Let me see if I can find anything." And that, ladies and gents, is where I fucked up. Nosy little me just had to check it out. I should have minded my business like a normal person. But no. Curiosity killed the cat, and it almost killed the Calla. I retched as I stepped into the room. The stench was overbearing. I thought for sure that my face would melt off at any given moment. I helped Steven scan the room, looking under papers, through filing cabinets, inside Ivan's lunchbox. I kinda knew it wouldn't be coming from that last one, but I wanted to know what Ivan eats for lunch. The man brought soup during one of the hottest summers on record. Of course he did. Maybe it's coming from that, Steven said, pointing to a tall oak wardrobe at the back of the room. It stuck out like a sore thumb. I think both of us were secretly hoping that whatever it was, wouldn't be coming from there. Yeah, I think you're onto something. Wanna open it? I said, shooting him a weak smile. Hell no I don't. You're the one who smells it. You open it. Isn't that exactly why I shouldn't open it? That reeks so bad that it'll probably knock me unconscious for a week. Good luck explaining that one to Mr. Temper Tantrum. Steven scoffed and rolled his eyes. Checkin' mate. Fine. But you owe me one. I nodded as he reached for the polished wooden knobs. My heart pounded in my throat as the doors swung open. When they finally did, I couldn't stop myself from vomiting all over the floor. Dread washed over me as my mind struggled to process what I was looking at. Crammed inside the sleek oak fixture were two bodies. My mind began to race. What had I gotten myself into? Was my boss a murderer? Who were those people? And most importantly, what the fuck should I do? I couldn't go to the cops. I mean, what would I tell them? Hey so, my dead boss has two bodies shoved into a cabinet in the completely real coffee shop that he owns. Pretty sure they'd toss me in the loony bin and throw away the key. Unfortunately, or fortunately I guess, I still don't know. But either way, I wouldn't have to make that decision. Suddenly, I could feel hot, musty breath on the nape of my neck. It felt like a grizzly bear was looming over me, waiting to rip me to shreds at a moment's notice. I knew that awful presence. It was Ivan. I slowly turned to face the giant, feeling my blood run cold. Fear crashed over me like a tidal wave. This was it. I was about to be stuffed into Ivan's kill cabinet. But as I locked eyes with the behemoth, I didn't see veins popping out of his forehead or steam wafting from his ears. No, he looked shocked. Looks like they're both dudes. Not sure if that makes any difference, but Steven finally took notice of our boss. His eyes grew wide and I watched as all the color drained from his face. We all stared at each other in silence like some kind of strange, awkward Mexican standoff. Ultimately, it was Ivan who broke the silence. He sighed, peering around us before silently shutting the office door. Sit. I have explanation to do. What? No. How do we know you're not going to kill us, too? Steven placed a hand on my shoulder. Kala, just do what he says. We're not really in a position to negotiate right now. And nice try, but I'm already dead, remember? Oh yeah, I squeaked, pulling out a dilapidated chair beside Steven. Ivan's rolling chair protested as he plopped into it. I still to this day have no clue how that thing hasn't snapped in half. He sheepishly met our curious gazes. The apprehension was tearing at me like a werewolf ripping into a fresh kill. If Ivan had an explanation for us, it had better be a damn good one. This looked bad, I know. But it was fault of Verrier, old coworker. This piece of shit sent two incubus to seduce me. You know of incubi, yes? Steven nodded. I watched as a smirk began to blossom across his lips. Meanwhile, my brows furrowed in confusion. An what? An incubus, Steven said, still grinning deviously, is a sex demon. Usually they impregnate unwilling women, but apparently, these two had a thing for our dear employer. Ivan's cheeks flushed with color as he averted his gaze. So, they're evil? I murmured. Yes. Very much so. Who knows how much damage they would have done if Ivan hadn't stopped them, Steven said, nodding sternly at him. Suddenly, Ivan's confidence flooded back. Steven must have struck a chord in him. Yes. Garbage demon trash. They march right into office and try to do bad things. I had to make them pay, Ivan seethed, smashing his fist into his palm. Well, I think you got the job done. But why did you stuff their bodies into a wardrobe? Can't you just throw them into a dumpster or something? No. Customers cannot see this. Bad for business. I have paid cleaning service to come later today. Okay, that's another thing I don't understand, I blurted out a bit too aggressively. Steven scooted his chair away from me slightly. I can't say I blame him. I was flustered again. What the hell do you guys need money for? If you're dead, what do you spend it on? And what's to stop you from robbing a bank or something? You could be in and out at the snap of a finger. Steven sighed and locked eyes with Ivan before pursing his lips and nodding. I got this one, boss. I knew this would probably come up eventually. You did? I thought I was the first live person you'd spoken with since you bit the dust. That's true. But it's natural to be curious, Steven said, shooting me a wink. Alright, so this is a complicated matter. Basically, the dead have their own little world. We have our own landlords, our own shops with things that only we can see, and places that only we can enter. Unless someone like you comes along, that is. Are you following any of this? Yeah. It's just a lot to take in. But still, why don't you just take what you want? A big, toothy grin erupted across Ivan's face. Because we go to hell for this. He's right, Steven chimed in. If we meddle too much in the affairs of the living, we get sent to hell. That's why money isn't constantly going missing. Speak of money, I will pay extra for this shift. To not talk about these, Ivan said, pointing to the two festering bodies that were now secreting a putrid amalgamation of fluids all over the ground. About that, I said, gagging at the sight. Can I go home? I have a lot to think about. Yes, take as much time as needed. What about me? I'm, super traumatized, Steven remarked, earning him a disapproving scowl. No. I cannot afford to lose 2 employees. Darn. It was worth a shot, Steven shrugged, turning to me. Remember when I said you owe me 1? Well, now you owe me 2. Why? Because I'm leaving early after finding out that my boss is hiding a couple of decomposing corpses in his office? Sorry that I'm not so callous to death. No, that's not it at all. You're going home, so I'm going to have to clean up that, Steven said, pointing to my drying puke that was still festering on the floor. Oh. Yeah, maybe you're right. I'll owe you 2. If I decide not to quit. So, yeah. That was the time that I discovered 2 rotting carcasses in my boss's office a week after starting at my new job. 010 would not recommend. I wish I could say the weirdness maxed out there. But, unfortunately, this was only the beginning.